Back for segment 3, Gold and Black Live, joined by Tom Dienhart and Mike Bobinski. And Mike, and there's limitations because you're still in the planning process, but you use the term transformative. What? Because it's the 21st century. You know, you're trending against fan participation from a national level, or you're challenged by that. But what do you do when you say there's an idea that's transformative? What might that look like? What kind of things?
Well, right now, Ross-Ade, as it's currently situated, provides a really limited set of seating options first and experiences. So you've got, the main bowl, which is what it is. You see it, you look at it, or you're up in the pavilion in either the Shively Club, the Buchanan Club, or in a suite. So there's a huge gap in terms of what we offer in terms of opportunities. And as we've surveyed lots of folks, and if we've visited Major League Baseball parks, we've visited Major League Soccer stadiums, people that are really doing lots of heavy market research about how people want to consume sporting events these days. There's clearly a desire for different kinds of spaces, different kinds of seating options, whether it be patios, whether it be rails where people stand. I mean, lots of different things. Smaller loge, open air loge boxes where 4 or 6 people have sort of a semi-private space, but it's their space. There's a little bit more room to move around. You don't have the knees in your back and your knees in somebody else's back, and the beer's being spilled. All of that is part of a stadium experience, and that will still exist. But being able to really change the variety of options that we offer, I think will be first and foremost something we're going to try to do. The second part will be to connect the game when people leave their seat to go to the concourse for concessions, food or beverage, or restrooms, whatever it might be. Right now, when you walk up out of the stands and you go back on that concourse, you might as well be somewhere else because the game's happening someplace else. Well, our hope and our desire is that we're going to peel off the upper level of Ross-Ade from the vomitories up, which right now is from there up is all on steel decking, which is starting to age out. Steel rusts, it ages. You have to treat it. So we'd like to peel that off, create a brand new, we're calling it a mezzanine level, that would then provide an open air view into the field all the way around the concourse. We'll connect the concourse all the way around the stadium, as opposed to right now in the south ends you sort of run into a brick wall. There's no way to get from one side to the other unless you go all the way around the north. We'll change that, but we'll have this brand new upper level deck which will clean the concourses up, open them up, provide that view to the field, improved concession, food and beverage. All those things will be updated and modernized and do things the way that, again, that the folks that are on the cutting edge of those things nationally, where you have local food service providers, you have more communal seating, you got just a different, like a festival kind of vibe almost around the concourse area. Then in the south end zone, for years we've talked about some type of a structure down there, and that's all part of this. Now, what that's going to ultimately be, there have been a couple of different versions of how that might look and feel. One is one of the late-breaking ideas that just came to us, was brought to us about 10 days or so ago, was maybe you change that into sort of in the Major League Soccer or the professional soccer world or international soccer world, they've got these supporter sections where they're standing and there's rails, and maybe that becomes your student section. Maybe you have a wall of students. And so creating an environment and a more intimidating home field advantage is part of what we've asked the architects to think about. How do we change that dynamic and make Ross-Ade a little bit more intimidating place to play? The north end, as we all know, is 40 feet from the end zone to the first seat. There's this big gap of space. So one of the more out there ideas, and we don't yet have a pencil to what this might cost, is maybe taking down the whole north end zone and moving everything in closer, creating just a much more intimate, close-in area. Again, from a crowd intimidation, home field advantage perspective. It's now's the time to think about that. If we don't think about it now, we're never going to think about it. So now we may or may not be able to pull that off. But one of the things that does is potentially allow you to have your game support facilities for football in the north end, maybe with connectivity to the Football Performance Center.
Make more sense.
It's
in the
right
dining,
there,
possibly there.
And all of that could happen in the north end as opposed to the south end, as it's always been imagined. Maybe the south end becomes that brand new wall of students. I mean, again, we're still concepting all this right now, but there's lots of exciting possibilities that I think will really change. And, connectivity is something that we heard loud and clear from the surveys that we did. People, believe, football's got downtime. It's just the nature of the game. You run a play, you stop. There's breaks, there's TV breaks, there's quarter breaks, there's halftime breaks. People want to be connected, and that's not going anywhere. Our world's not going to become less connected.
Yeah.
It's going to be more connected. So we've got to tackle that in this project for sure. And then the current pavilion. It's a great facility. We've got lots of nice elements, but it's been as it's been now for 15 years.
Yeah.
And so it's time. It's time to refresh the finishes, refresh the look and feel in the pavilion to make sure that those seating options continue to retain value. So that's all part of it also. So it'll be really, the upper level, creating that mezzanine level, cleaning up the concourse, providing the view into the field, a much more wider variety of seating options that sort of speak to the way fans of today want to experience games, and then a structure in the south end zone that will either be a traditional seating area with club spaces and all that, but whatever we do, there will be field level club opportunities built into either the north or south, potentially both, as we look ahead. Again, all dollar and resource dependent, but lots of exciting possibilities to really modernize Ross-Ade and make it a really distinctive facility. We're never going to be 100,000 seats. We're not going to outnumber anybody in terms of our scope and our size, but we want our place to be something that people say, wow. Well, what a facility Ross-Ade is. It is the best stadium of its size in our league.
How you do that, and I'm just thinking about, wait now, can you do that in between December or November, and that's another challenge.
Yeah, no question,
You gotta be able to make
and
the time.
sequencing is all part of the conversation.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that part is a really interesting thing.
I know
Yeah.
you said now is the time to strike while the
Yeah.
iron's hot.
Yeah.
And I also talked to you about possibly doing something with the Hillside Apartments, the old Ross-Ade Apartments. Is there any thought still of those being raised and maybe some type of athletic housing is constructed there that also would include normal student housing as well?
The campus master plan that was done within the last year includes a down the road, and how far down the road is yet to be determined. And it's not our project. It would be a university project. The current Hilltop Apartments they're still functioning.
Yep.
They're still being used. Clearly, they don't have a lot of life left in them. I mean, they're like our South End
1955.
video board.
Yeah.
They're limping to the finish line here. So at some point, we would envision those coming down and some different type of development, whether it be a new residence hall that's got an athletic piece to it,
Yep.
but also potentially a closing of that road on the west side of the stadium, creating a new plaza, green space, sort of pre-game, tailgating, social space that would be supportive of football operations or football game days, and that's exciting to us also. So we've talked about all of that with our campus facilities folks and the master planners, and they think that's an idea that will at some point find its way to reality. Just don't know if it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, but it's still in the conversation.
You have all that, planning is Purdue, even historically, they're pretty good at that over the years
Yeah.
in terms of what something looked like they planned for 30 years ago. A lot of it, the State Street project, for example, it was talked about in the 80s in terms of Mitch Daniels had did everything to bring it to fruition, but all that vision is critical. And it's interesting because I was in Atlanta, and its baseball stadium, which is one of the newer
Yeah.
stadiums, but it is that thing about being able to see. You always touch the action.
Yes.
The key thing is no matter where you are in that park, if you're getting concessions, you can see
You're
what's going
connected
on
to the
field.
game in some way,
And that's an
and that is definitely the wave of the future. And the generation that's going to be important, and it is important to us today, people want experiences. They want that experience. They don't want to disconnect from it while they're there. If they're going to commit their time and their attention and their resources, they want the full-on immersive experience, and we've got to find a way to provide that in Ross-Ade.
The one thing that's interesting that's different in my view is baseball's not the same as football in terms of how you consume it. I think you pay more attention to football game, but that may be an old person's way of looking at it. Do your data show you that people want to be more social at
Yeah.
games and clearly want to be with their friends, but I think they do watch the game more. Is that a fact, or is that my own fallacy?
Yeah, no, I think it's a fact, but I think they want both.
Yeah.
I think they want both, and I think that's, it's up to us to make sure that we don't design our way or continue with a structure and a setup that isn't responsive to the way people want
Yeah.
to consume games in the future.
Is there any other, or are there any other non-football related facility projects that are on your radar?
Yeah.
That maybe fans can look forward to in coming years?
Always. I mean, there's a never-ending supply of things that we'd like to address, and again, all resource and planning dependent. The next thing that's really coming in Mackey is a renovation of our men's and women's basketball locker rooms. I mean, we've got good space, but the space can be better utilized. It can be more responsive to the way our teams practice, train, use their space, and so we've got some designs done already for that. That one will begin a fundraising effort to make that happen, and that's probably another year and a half or so away from actually getting done. But we feel really good about that. We've got brand new video boards in Holloway Gym this year, so you saw that, and there are things that we'd like to do in and around our outdoor track, which is one of those. It's sort of buried right in the middle of campus there, but
It's going to stay there.
it's going to stay there for now. But again, the campus master plan at some point envisions that potentially moving out to the northwest site. I don't know when. There's no time. There's no timeline on that whatsoever. But that would be dependent on other campus development, sort of pushing it out to that northwest site. That could happen someday, but that would also necessitate probably a move of the indoor track, because you want those things to be connected somehow, some way. But so that becomes a very big project. But we've got things we'd like to do out at our baseball and softball complexes. There's never a lack of. There's work at the golf course we'd like to get done. The bunkers at Campen need to be redone. There's some development projects we'd love to do out there. There's our clubhouse could be better. Our Spurgeon facility, which is a great facility, needs to be updated, needs to be refreshed. So it's a never-ending cycle of trying to make sure that you stay on top of things and you don't ever let them reach a critical point.
Yeah. You've had, when you came here, there certainly from certain folks, the ability to have coaches that were here, the Dave Shondells, the Dan Rosses, Sharon Versip on down the line, of some level of stability, where on the surface, you focused a lot on football because that's what needed fixed.
Yeah.
Talk about how you view the Olympic sports, but also what challenges they have. You have expectations in terms of winning, that hasn't changed, and yet how have you mixed and matched those two?
Well, it's for me. I do my very best to be connected and be aware and involved with things that are going on across our department. We've got sports supervisors that are assigned to each program that are sort of the day in, day out, really boots on the ground administrator. But we meet all the time. We stay up to date. The coaches all have access if they ever need me for anything. Yeah. We stay connected from that perspective. I think we're in a position where a number of our Olympic sport programs are poised to do really, really good things. I think our soccer program is clearly on the build. Yeah. I mean, again, you look at that roster, it looks very much like football. We've got lots of freshmen, lots of sophomores that are really key players on that squad, really talented, and have a tremendous future ahead of them. I think volleyball, Dave Shondell, you mentioned his team. I look in the gym. I was at the scrimmage, not this Saturday, but last Saturday, and we've got a remarkably talented group of young women in there, and I would expect that they're going to have great success in not only this year but in the years ahead, because we've got that kind of ability and talent in there, and Dave, Dave is a great coach. He knows what he's doing, and I'm sure we'll get a lot out of that. Track and field program continues to get better. I think our men's cross country, our men's track and field this year will be really good. Our women are rebuilding after that great year that they had a season ago. That will come back around too. So all that's happening. So that baseball, I think we stumbled a little bit last year for a variety of reasons, but I think we're in a position there to be really good going forward. Softball has recruited extremely well the last few years. I think we'll see again. They had a much better record last year. I think that'll continue to get better. So I think lots of things are moving forward. Swimming and diving. We got Olympians in the darn pool. We got Olympians on our track program. And as I told our athletes the other night, I said, when I look around this gym, I see all Big Tens. I see future all Big Tens. I see all Americans. I see future all Americans, and I see Olympians, not only for the United States, but in some cases for their home countries. Yeah. And when you've got that kind of ability sitting in this gym, why wouldn't we expect
Yeah.
to have success? I mean, we're selling ourselves short if we don't think that way. And so I mean, I push, I mean, I am never satisfied.
Yeah.
Just
Don't
just the
sit
way
still.
it's just the way I'm wired, and I'm don't apologize for that. I think we can continue to push in everything we do.
Okay, but about time for one
Yeah,
more
we
question.
see, like we talked before we got on camera about Nevada, you expect a pretty good Purdue contingent
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
Talk about what fans who are going to be there can expect.
Yeah, I think, well, it's going to be warm, especially when we kick off. I can tell you,
Warm and
can
high.
expect that. It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be that. The breathing will be a little bit challenged, which is why we're going out a day early. Going out Wednesday evening
Yeah.
after class and everything. Going to take the team out there so they get a chance on Thursday to run around a little bit and just get acclimated so they know what it feels like when they're under a little bit of, oxygen stress. And so we think that was important for us. But I think we'll have a really nice Purdue following. We got people traveling out from this part of the country. We've also got some of our West Coast folks coming that way. We've sold out our tailgate multiple times, and I think we still have a waiting list. So
so I understand.
we're at 400+ at this point for our pregame event out there. So that's a really nice turnout, and I think people are going to enjoy the experience out there, and I know I'll enjoy it if we win. I won't enjoy it anywhere near as much if we don't, but I'm expecting that we're gonna put on a really good performance and come back with a victory.
All right, well, we've talked about, we did buy him water in between so he can re-lubricate it, so to speak, but we always appreciate, and this could go on for another couple hours, but it won't today. We'll have him on again. He's on, he can come on anytime he wants to, but we'll probably have it late in this semester or the first of next because we didn't get into a lot of things that are of interest as well. But I want to thank Mike Bobinski and Tom Dienhart for joining me. Brian Newbert. Brian's fine. He's just working. He's not dissing the athletic director. He had basketball
time
interviews, but though Mike may hold him accountable. We'll be back a week from Friday. We'll start our Friday shows. In fact, I think we're going to have Gene Cady on prior to the Vandy game. That's always interesting. We've got a whole host of guests already lined up for the fall semester. Will be every Friday of football games that we will be off the bye weeks, but we will be doing that as well. I want to thank our sponsors, XXX, on the hill but on the level, a Purdue tradition since 1929, State Farm agent Trent Johnson, and Hilton Garden Inn and John Basham, the good folks at Basham Rentals. We appreciate you, and as we begin our 10th year, we look forward to it all starts Friday night, at least in terms of football, and what could be a very, very interesting year for Purdue sports. Have a great Labor Day, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week on Gold and Black Live.